Good evening. Residents in part of East Sussex say they fear their small village will be overwhelmed after plans were announced to house more than 1,000 asylum seekers at a former prison site nearby.
The Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick, confirmed yesterday that the centre near Bexhill, known as Northeye, will be used in a bid to cut the £6 million a day the government says it spends on hotel accommodation.
Well, some living nearby are concerned that local services won't be able to cope with an influx of people, as Andy Dickinson now reports.
This place is so decayed, isn't it?
This footage from inside a former prison left derelict for more than a decade, now earmarked as an asylum centre. Neighbours in the small village of Little Common outside Bexhill looking on in shock and disbelief this morning at the government's plans.
I think it's ludicrous.
I think we're really
Absolutely
worried
ludicrous.
because it's
The poor
Little
people
Common.
living round here.
This is going to take thousands, if not millions, to get right. You can see the state of it.
We're absolutely horrified. It's literally been dumped on our doorstep.
This former prison used to house 500 criminals. The Home Office now wants it to take on 800 refugees and asylum seekers by September. By December, 1,200 people who came here desperate to escape to a new life.
This government remains committed to meeting our legal obligations to those who would otherwise be destitute. But we're not prepared to go further. Accommodation for migrants should meet their essential living needs and nothing more. Because we cannot risk becoming a magnet for the millions of people who are displaced and seeking better economic prospects.
This cafe in nearby St Leonard's pairs refugees with volunteer buddies and says integration, not isolation, is the answer for those seeking refuge.
Well, as someone with a refugee background myself, who came here seeking refuge in the late 70s and was warmly welcomed, I think that today, what we're seeing is horrific. Manston Detention Centre, Napier Detention Centre. It hasn't worked. Isolating people and holding them in detention and punishing them for seeking refuge doesn't work.
There was a riot here in 1986. Rotherham and East Sussex councils told us this morning people in our communities are likely to have many questions about the government's plans. We will work together to understand and assess in more detail the impact this would have on local communities.
Well, meanwhile, a giant puppet of a refugee child, which aims to highlight the plight of young asylum seekers, is about to embark on the next stage of its journey.
Yes, 12-foot-tall Little Amal is about to move along Brighton seafront as part of a 5,000-mile journey from Turkey to Manchester. Andy Dickinson is live for us there this evening. Andy, she's quite a sight. What's happening there now?
Yes, thank you. And as you said, this project is about helping us identify the refugees, but some people do struggle to share with that sympathy. David Land, does the idea of these detention centres, do you think, in themselves damage people's image of asylum seekers?
Look, the experience we've had walking with Amal over thousands and thousands of miles across the borders of many, many countries now, I'm very happy to be here on Brighton Beach, surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people, is that the world is full of people of goodwill. Who look for ways in which they can help vulnerable people remake their lives. There are just not too many of them in His Majesty's government just at the moment.
What did you think when you heard about these proposals?
Well, these are refugees. In other words, they're people looking for refuge. They're asylum seekers. They didn't come to this country in order to be put into jail. When the Minister for Refugees said that they will provide living standards, but the very, very basic, and no more than that. I was reminded of being in Westminster Cathedral in London when Amal was greeted by Cardinal Nichol, the head of the Catholic Church in this country, and he sang to her, and what he sang to her was, "That which you do for the least of my daughters, you do for me." That seems to me an appropriate attitude to take towards vulnerable people in need.
Tell us very quickly about Little Amal.
Little Amal is a 12-foot high, 10-year-old refugee from Aleppo in Syria. Her mother went looking for refuge for her family, didn't come back. She set off looking for her mother. She travelled 5,000 miles across Europe to UK.
Thanks, David. Well, this display goes on for around another hour. This debate is sure to go on for some time to come.
Andy, thank you.